Yesterday, I got a visit from my late sister. It all came about when I was suddenly hit with this urge to go get this camera set up and talk to the camera while I sliced my cucumbers, something I've never done. But for some reason, I feel that I'm supposed to share this message, and it's basically just talking about the end of life of my sister and some of the emotions and lessons that I got from that. So I hope you'll tune in and watch the rest of this video, and maybe there's something in it for you. Thank you for watching. Sorry about that roar in the background. That's my ice maker I just turned on, and it's kind of noisy. Sorry. My sister passed away in 2002, and I went down to see her. She had gastric carcinoma. She was going to have bypass surgery on her stomach because it was in her, she was told with stomach cancer. She was in Yuma. I'm in Oregon. So she said, why don't you come down? Can you come down here with me? Her husband was a pilot. She needed somebody to take care of her after her surgery because it was going to be pretty major surgery. So I took some time off work and I went down there, and they opened her up. They saw that it was just all over her inside, so they just closed her back up and didn't do the bypass because they wanted her to be able to start some kind of treatment, and she wouldn't be able to do that if she was recovering from major surgery. And we actually ended up having a fun time. You know, I spent a couple weeks down there just hanging out with her, and instead of worrying about her recovering from surgery. And she was an avid horsewoman, and so we got to play with her horse, and we just had a really fun time. And I remember leaving. Oh, I kind of get goosebumps when I talk about this. And thinking, she was talking about, oh, maybe someday I can come back to Oregon and we can go to Hendricks Park, which is in Eugene, which is this beautiful flower garden, wonderful place that we used to go. And I remember thinking, oh God, is this going to be the last? It was right before Christmas when I left to come home, and I wondered if that was going to be her last Christmas, and it was. So I came home and went back to work, and she wasn't going to do any treatment, and then they talked her into going to the Mayo Clinic, and so she did. She did some treatment that was December, and she died in April. I got a message from her husband, my brother-in-law, that I needed to come down, that she was, she had said no more treatment, it wasn't working. She was never in any pain, fortunately. She had rigged up this tank to wear on her back, an oxygen tank, so that she could ride her horse. And she used to say, when I'm on my horse, I'm not sick. And anyway, it really chokes me up. So he said, she didn't want me to call you, but I think you should come down. So I went down there. She was still in the hospital, and we had some laughs. We used to have this thing where we said, if I ever turn out like Mom, shoot me. And so I'm sitting there thinking, should I say this? Should I say this? And I did. I said, who's going to shoot me if I turn out like Mom? And so we had a little laugh about that. And then there's one thing I really regret. She said, why don't you get a cot and spend the night here? And I thought, no, she needs to rest. What a dumbass. She's dying. The next day she came, they brought it, hospice. Hospice is amazing. They brought in this, a hospital bed in the living room, got it all set up, and that was on Saturday. She came home Friday, I think, and then Saturday they brought the bed so that she could be comfortable in the living room. And really, basically, they said, your job is to just keep her comfortable and out of pain. And she, like I said, she was never in any pain. What made her give up was, she said that they had taken this tube out of her lung, and as soon as they did, it just filled up with fluid. And so she said, that's it. just let me go home. We got her in her bed, and then it was really interesting. Everything hospice told us would happen happened, just like they said. She would just kind of sit up every once in a while, or I don't remember, maybe she wasn't sitting up. She would just start talking like she was talking to people. She was definitely 1 foot here and 1 foot in the next realm. The day she died, that it was Sunday morning, about 11 something, I thought, well, I'm just going to run in and take a shower. And I just got into the bathroom, and her husband called out. He goes, "She's gone." He said she just looked at him, and then she just was gone. It was hard. It was really, really hard. But what's really interesting is all my life, like I said, she was this big, larger than life character who made me feel small. But I always looked up to her because she was very successful. She was a very outgoing, fun person. Well, in life, I would always kind of think back to, what would Kathy do? What would Kathy do? I would kind of always bounce all my ideas, all my thoughts, all my decisions on what would she do. It wasn't even really conscious. It was just like an automatic thing. Well, when she died, it was like I didn't have that cloud over me that I had put there. And it was me putting it there. It wasn't her. Not anymore. When I was a kid, she was doing it. But all of a sudden, I was just talking like I'd never talked before. I had all this confidence. I was being outgoing. And I realized I had been living in my own mind under her thumb and not feeling adequate enough to be that person. I found me when she left. And I mean, it's sad to say that, but I don't mean that in a negative way, that she was bad. She just had influenced me in such a way as a kid, or as a, my whole life, that I felt like I was never good enough. I wasn't adequate. That was a really interesting lesson that I learned from her passing. I miss her every day. I think of her every day. It's been 22 years, and I still think about her. I wonder what she'd be doing right now in terms of the whole state of our country and our leadership. It's interesting to think about. I don't know where she'd be. I think her husband, who has since passed away too, would have been right on that Trump train. And I don't know that she would have bought into that bullshit. I hope not, because obviously I don't. Anyway, I don't know why I'm telling you all this. It just felt like something that seemed important. So there you go. I'm not even sure why I'm doing this. I just felt this urge, and so here it is. The lesson for you is, take a look around in your own life. Is there someone who is influencing you in ways that you don't even realize? Because I didn't really know that was what was going on. It was just, that's how I was living. And then all of a sudden, she was gone, and I was free of her opinion. And that I had been putting that on myself. She wasn't doing it intentionally, so I don't mean to blame her, but that's how it was. So I'm thinking, if I had known sooner in my life, or how to live with her opinion and been aware that was even happening, I could have become a stronger person sooner. But everybody's where they're supposed to be, wherever they are, I guess. But anyway, I just think it's really interesting that when she died, I was giddy. And, part of that just could have been the emotional response to losing your sister. But I was giddy, and I was chatty, and I was giddy, and I went home, and I realized I'm not living with regrets. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to do things that I used to be scared of. And I did. But I think the lesson is, take a look around and see, just observe your relationships and see if there's any adjustments you might need to make. And it you know, it might help you. And anyway, it's been an interesting process. But no matter what, I love my sister. And I have to say that during the last video I did, I talked about having goosebumps. Well, I was watching it back, and I got to the part, there was something where I was really personal, and my arms were just puffed up with goosebumps. I mean, she was here. I felt her for the first time in a long time. And so that was really cool. So maybe that's why I needed to do this today. Anyway, I hope you made it this far, and I hope you got something out of it. Thanks for listening.